Good evening, welcome to Have I Got News For You? I'm Alexander Armstrong. In the news this week, at a party in Berlin, there are joyous scenes as both sides celebrate the anniversary of the end of the Cold War. In the kitchen of a Beijing restaurant, there's evidence that the temperature of the new deep-fat fryer may have been a little low. And at his family bonfire party in the Cotswolds, Richard Hammond regrets putting Jeremy Clarkson in charge of the fireworks. On Paul's team tonight is an MEP whose controversial remarks about women drew the media's attention away from the UKIP party conference, so this is our chance to thank him in person. Please welcome Godfrey Bloom! And reading in tonight is a journalist and broadcaster who once said about sexism, you still get some perfectly harmless old man looking down your top and saying, you're a healthy young lady. So presumably she's already met Godfrey. Please welcome Victoria Coren-Mitchell! We start with the bigger stories of the week. Paul and Godfrey, yes. Here is your question. It's a big news story, but legally we are not allowed to comment on it, so off you go. Good luck with that.
I don't know who these people are. I've no idea what that building is. Who's that's the Prime Minister? I don't know. I don't know. How dare you link the Prime Minister with this trial? I didn't think I had, but it's a fair cop, Governor. So I can't say who these people are. I can say who they are, or...
You're right first time, you can't.
I can't say who they are. OK, so
no, we
can't get any points.
We are allowed to report the facts.
Oh, right, OK. 1066 was the Battle of Hastings.
But I know the BBC are very, very jumpy about saying anything at all about that. But as one of the few people who, you know, the Attorney General has said has not committed any contempt, I would say my judgment on what you can say is better than theirs.
Yeah, I think that's right. Wandsworth Prison's very easy to get to for me.
Yeah.
I can visit 2 or 3 times a week.
You should make all your comments in code, and then it could be on the BBC if anyone notices what you're saying.
Yes, I could say, Fräulein, I thought the cathedral was on the other side of the square.
Okay.
The pigeons fly high above Krakow tonight. The fat lady has bought her dinner, but she does not want dessert. There, nobody can get to prison saying that.
No.
Get switched off, but you won't go to prison.
Well, there is one High Court case we can talk about. Don't want to see Bernie Ecclestone turning up for his case?
Oh, yes, it was great. He was rather baffled by the concept of revolving doors. Here he goes.
There he is, and he goes.
Here he goes. Right. Now, so far, so good, you see. There we are, now. Now, just come walk out. No. No. Now he can't get in, that door's locked. He's got to wait for somebody to go and get him now, look.
This is the trial of Rebecca Brooks and Andy Coulson. Since we can't make jokes about any of the defendants, let's make some jokes about you, Godfrey. Here's what you got up to 30 years ago on your stag night. You can't see it, but she's just withdrawn the whip.
Oh, happy days, happy days.
For legal reasons, we're not allowed to talk about the News International case at all. So this week, it was reported that the Mirror Group is now
Hang on,
facing...
you're just going to let that photo pass?
Well, no, we can go back to it. Let's go back.
Which one are you?
That was before my operation, in all fairness.
Which part of your body was the operation on?
Well, you get 2 guesses on that one, Ian.
The brain.
Come along just to do that bit, or was she one of your friends there for the evening?
Well, she came along just to do that bit, and I think my brother-in-law had a go as well, so... Fortunately, somebody stumped up for her. It wasn't me. It was a chum of mine paid. I thought she was very entrepreneurial, really.
So... This week it was reported that the Mirror Group is now facing 55 claims of phone hacking, so before we're not allowed to talk about that case, can I just say Piers Morgan is a total arse?
Piers did tweet that I should be put in jail for 2 years at the beginning of last week, saying I'd committed contempt of court. And he said that in the morning before the Attorney General ruled that I hadn't said contempt of court. So, in fact, Piers was in contempt and probably should go to jail for 2 years.
Ian and Victoria, here's your news story.
Oh, that's Rebecca Brooks. Who's that?
Oh, Lord. I mean, It's Theresa May, but it's like looking in a mirror. I'm always doing that.
Well, it's just fallen off the shoe.
To be honest, after the photograph of Mr. Bloom, I was so relieved to see her burqa. You know, just thank goodness. You know the world's still run by men when any women are wearing either a burqa or hot pants. You know, feminism will have won when everyone is just in a nice, comfy, knee-length dress with a cardigan.
I couldn't agree more. So, I think the story was about a man dressed in a burqa.
Yes, ironically, the first person ever to be liberated by wearing a burqa. He was tagged, wasn't he?
He was under really close surveillance, so he managed to nip into a mosque in Acton, change into a burqa and run for it.
Yeah. I was interested that, these curfews, there are 8 of them. It's called the T-Pims. T-Pims o'clock, isn't it, Sandra?
It is just about, yeah.
Oh, someone's absconded! Is it G4S who's in charge?
It is indeed G4S in charge.
I didn't want to create any more legal problems.
Here's a picture of him before and afterwards. We can see him going into the mosque on the left. And that's him leaving the mosque on the right. What's quite ironic about the timing of this week's incident. Earlier that day, he absconded. The case against him for tampering with his tag had been,
that's right, yes.
had been dropped.
They said he wasn't guilty of tampering with it.
The Crown Prosecution Service had found insufficient evidence. Got a bit more now, though, haven't they? According to the Times, the tags had been stretched, pulled, twisted, or subjected to wiggling.
Criminal mastermind.
The tags did not appear to have been stress-tested to cope with a devout Muslim who prays 5 times a day. 5 times a day, that's gonna work any tag loose.
I can't tell, he's got a burqa on, the tag may still be on. He might be limping.
Well, you've got to presume it's not, otherwise they'd have brought him in. Oh, it's G4S, yes.
I like that you're being subjected to wiggling, like your stag night, Mr. Bloom.
There was a lot of wiggling that night, I can tell you.
Can we see the picture again?
Yeah.
Oh, bless her, she's doing such a good job of smiling, isn't she?
Oh, I know.
Amazing.
Well, I was a good-looking dude in those days, Victoria. I can
Well, you're
tell you.
very good looking now.
Oh, very kind
But
of
it's possible that standing there in just her pants while a man in a suit rubs his face in her tits wasn't the greatest night of her life.
Well, she got £100 for it. She must have thought it was reasonably okay, as a night.
That's the UKIP policy. You charge £100 for it, it's fine.
Back to Mohammed for a second.
Oh, there's a gear change.
But as you said, G4S were the people who provide the tags. They're in charge of all the monitoring. The Serious Fraud Office has launched a formal criminal investigation into G4S, along with another company, Serco, in relation to tagging. And The Guardian explained, under the £700 million contract, the Justice Ministry was being billed for 18,000 offenders a day, when only 15,000 were actually being monitored. But as I say, G4S deny any wrongdoing at all.
And those 3,000 sort of non-existent people all voted Labour in Falkirk.
They did exactly all register. Meanwhile, going back to burqas just for a second, Ken Clarke waded into the debate. What did he have to say about burqas in court?
He said that it's difficult to get a fair trial if you're wearing a kind of bag. Although, you see, I was thinking about that, and I think maybe he's been misunderstood, because actually, all clothes are a kind of bag.
If his dad had been wearing a kind of bag, we wouldn't have Ken Clarke. That's me.
Clarke also said people should be allowed to wear what the devil they like in public, although most people do draw the line at these.
Is she in a production of Joseph?
According to the Times, the over-the-knee boot is the key style for autumn-winter 2013. But I don't need to tell you that, of course, Ian.
Ah, yes. I have them on under this desk.
Yeah.
Sorry, Alexander.
No,
are you with
yes,
us?
yeah, I mean...
I know that habit of yours is a problem, but...
And finally, who would like to see a clip of Boris Johnson letting one go?
No.
There we are. This is the male terror
He
suspect
works for the Mail.
Yeah.
That is a story.
Yeah.
The male terror suspect who escaped by putting on a burqa and sneaking out of a mosque disguised as a woman. You'd think he'd been able... You'd think he'd have been easy to spot, but to be fair to the... You're right, that habit, really. You'd think he'd been easy to spot, but to be fair to the security services, they were far too busy reading all our emails. Boris Johnson has branded the terrorist's escape while dressed as a woman as absurd, and also highly embarrassing, as he just tried to chat him up at a bus stop. Paul and Godfrey, here's another one for you.
Yes, this is payday loans, isn't it? I think she's very happy. Look, it's raining fake money where she is. Yeah, it's something to do with payday loans, I think.
Yeah, do you know what's happened to them this week?
Some of them have been called in front of there's lots of parliamentary committees at the moment. They've been appear in front of a parliamentary committee defending their business.
That's exactly right. They were accused of something terrible, though, by money-saving expert Martin Lewis at the Select Committee hearing.
People were complaining that they were advertising on sort of children's programmes. Or...
Yes, that's
well,
right.
it was exactly. He said they were grooming children.
Yes, yes.
That's a bit much, isn't it? I mean, I know they're awful, but do you know why he said that, though?
Because children see the adverts and say to their parents, why don't you borrow some money?
Exactly right.
And then I can have some of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a friend of mine who's a poker player. He has a little gold camel for luck that he puts on his cards. And one time he was getting his stuff together for a poker tournament and he said, where's my camel? And his son, who's 3, said, you could convert that old gold into cash.
Apparently they're grooming the next generation of borrowers. Martin Lewis said kids are dazzled by the catchy tunes and cute puppets.
Isn't one of them Earl Wonga? I don't know if he is an Earl. I may have given him a title.
I thought maybe that was his Christian name. I didn't know he was a belted Earl.
Oh, no, I think he donated a large sum to the Conservative.
Do you want to see the cute Wonga puppets?
Yeah.
Here they are.
It's you, Godfrey. With a couple of what you'd call absolute corkers.
So who else rounded on the payday lenders?
Ronnie Corbett.
Was this the Public Accounts Committee or
Yeah.
the Select Committee?
It was the Select Committee,
Select
obviously.
Committee.
They were in front of the Select Committee, but Ed Miliband also piled in. He described the reality of life for the millions living with payday loans. He said it was bullying, harassment and threats, much like working with Ed Balls. Do you know how much it costs to borrow £1 for 1 day from Wonga.com?
£1,000.
20p.
Oh, it's going to sound pathetic, but £6.57 to borrow £1 for a day. And do you know what the current interest rate is with Wonga?
It's in its thousands, isn't it?
5,853% APR.
Oh, that's more than the power companies.
But what's the big glitzy film premiere this week in London?
Wonga have made a film.
This is absolutely right, yes. Wonga the movie. They've released a film featuring people who've borrowed from the firm. Unusually for Wonga, there is 0% interest.
What do you mean it's a film? Is it that you can go and see it at the cinema?
No, you can't go and see Wonga the movie. You buy your ticket, but you have to pay it back by the end of the year.
Who else was grilled by MPs this week?
Spies.
Spies. The 3 Secret Service agencies, which are...
MI5?
MI6?
Google.
Talking of unpopular organisations,
Yes.
what have Ryanair been up to this week?
Oh, they're upgrading, aren't they?
Are they?
Upgrading. I think they're getting better.
Are they?
Yes, I think they put a lavatory in and all sorts of wonderful things.
They're getting rid of the outdoor seats. Clutching to the wing.
The head of Ryanair, Michael O'Leary, has promised to stop unnecessarily pissing people off. O'Leary promised to overhaul the website, saying this website is crud. You'll no longer be offered to buy life insurance or orphan children from Romania. What will you soon be able to do if you pay an extra £5?
You can have a number 2?
No, it's more basic than that. You can...
Number 1?
You can... You can choose your own seat. Shall we see how former serious news programme Newsnight interviewed O'Leary?
Yes.
There we are. That's ridiculous. You never get legroom like that. Yeah. On the subject of air travel, what did we learn this week about women pilots?
Oh, gosh. I don't know, I'm just dreading where this is going.
You're honest?
They're better.
Well, a survey found that 51% of passengers wouldn't trust a woman pilot. The survey was commissioned by a travel agent who surveyed 49 normal people, then repeatedly asked Godfrey until they got to... I'm doing you a terrible disservice. I feel sure you are far more enlightened than that.
I know you've said that women aren't very good drivers, but they're much better than men at finding the mustard in the pantry. And I wondered, was that a euphemism? Like, have you often found yourself, with women and you feel like you've been rummaging for ages in the pantry and... she's screaming, you just can't find the mustard. Is that where that came from?
Sorry, are we talking French or English?
This is the parliamentary inquiry which saw a bunch of greedy, money-grabbing bastards interviewing Wonga. There's some dispute as to where the name Wonga comes from. For most people, it's a slang term for money. Although for one man, it's the capital of Bongoland. What did you mean? What was that? Do you remember?
The point that I was making is it's a rather ridiculous thing to send £1 billion a month away when we're closing all our hospitals and schools to Bongoland.
It's specifically Africa you meant, though, isn't it?
Broadly speaking, yes. I think one thing I've been proud of is opening that national debate, bongo or not bongo.
So you've influenced, by making a mildly racist remark, you've influenced the government into changing its aid policy.
So it would appear, Ian.
Yes, well, then that proves you are mad.
Now, just a second ago, we were talking about air travel.
Yes.
Of course, and talking of flying,
Yes.
a church was in the news this week. Someone know why?
First airborne church that's flying around on a plane.
This Illinois church was in the news,
Yes.
not for what it looks like on the ground,
What it looks like from the
but
air.
for what it looks like from the air, which is... Also this week, a survey revealed that the majority of airline passengers are less likely to feel safe with a woman pilot at the controls, which sounds a bit sexist, but to be fair, a male pilot can hold his drink better. Ian and Victoria, here's another one for you.
That's Tory MP. Oh, that's another one. That's Shaps, and that's Ed Miliband, who's clapping his speech. No one else will, he might as well. MP's in trouble, isn't it?
MP's in trouble, yes.
The top man is Mr Pritchard.
It is, Mr Pritchard, yeah. Mark Pritchard.
He made some unfortunate remarks to an undercover Daily Telegraph reporter about whether he could help setting up a company in Albania. And he said he knew everyone, he was a very influential man, and could he have £3,000? He says that's been wildly misinterpreted as suggesting in some way he would take money. But he's referred himself to the Parliamentary Standards Committee.
So it says he wants to prove his innocence.
Yeah.
So self-referral.
Yes. Someone must look into this man. I don't know what he's done, but someone should get to the bottom of it.
Who did he claim was his best friend?
He said, I like this one, he said he knew the mayor.
And then he knew a minister in Albania.
The Prime Minister.
The Prime Minister.
He said, we could meet the great and the good. We'll meet the Prime Minister. Blah, blah. Impressive. He even knows his name. What do we know about Mr Pritchard?
Is he the one that was rude to the speaker in a corridor?
Exactly right. John Bercow told him to stand aside as he walked down a corridor, and Mr Pritchard said, you are not fucking royalty, Mr Speaker. In the end, Bercow had no alternative but to walk straight between his legs. In other denial news, what denial was made on David Cameron's behalf?
Someone said he wasn't at a party.
He wasn't at a party.
And then he was.
Well, Downing Street didn't reply to the question.
Oh, but Matthew Freud, whose party it was, were you there?
Yeah, I was there.
Oh, good, excellent. Tell us all about it.
If you remember one of those parties, you weren't really there.
So the Prime Minister was there.
But he can't... He was there. I don't think he ever said he wasn't. I think Downing Street didn't
Matthew
reply.
Freud said he wasn't there.
Matthew Freud initially said he wasn't. I suspect Matthew Freud probably just thought, it's my party, my business.
I'll lie about it if I want to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because
then
he's
he
the Prime
thought-
Minister and he's PR man. Why shouldn't we be interested in their relationship?
I mean, at this party, Tony Blair was there, but there was...
Oh, well, that makes it clean.
But I've seen...
What other guests were there? Genghis Khan?
I think
Oh,
he was,
Dr.
actually.
Shipman popped in. It was a lovely party.
It was a lovely party.
I'm sure it was. Did Jimmy Savile do karaoke?
Anyway, it's what about Ed Miliband? What was
he
he
there?
denied doing?
But it's not about the Falkirk thing.
It was about Falkirk.
It's like The Wire. I feel like I missed an episode and now I'm absolutely lost.
Well, the thing that's changed this week is that they said there was vote rigging and that there was a witness. And then the union said, no, she's withdrawn her testimony. She says there wasn't any vote rigging. So Ed Miliband said, she's withdrawn her testimony. No need,
inquiry.
I won't look into it any further. Now the woman has said, I didn't withdraw my testimony. There was vote rigging, I'm sticking to what I said. So people said, well, Ed, are you going to reopen your inquiry? Because this woman said she was leaned on by the union to change her testimony. And he said, no, absolutely not. I'm just monitoring events. I'm just seeing what's happening. Leave me alone. I'm trying to do my job. Just lose.
What has Tory MP Grant Shapps denied doing?
Well, he used to run a company under another name. He was Michael Green.
Yes. Nothing dodgy about that at all.
The company was investigated, wasn't it?
That's
and
right.
the police said there may have been fraud, but we're drawing a line under it. It's all over.
We don't see Grant Shapps being pursued by Michael Crick.
Is it across open countryside?
The Green Stockheath of Surrey. Doesn't appear to be any Stockheath anywhere in the world. There doesn't appear to be a Stockheath anywhere in the world. Is she genuine? Is Richard Wharton of Protectorate Ops, New York genuine? Is JLM Richards of the Wallasey?
Where's Bernie Eccleston when you need him?
Oh, Godfrey, you've had your time with Crick, haven't
Yes,
you?
you handle him with a rolled-up magazine is my way of dealing with Crick. Yes, no
Shall
problem
we
at
watch
all.
that? That's quite fun.
It's got a bit of fun, isn't it?
What do you make of the front cover of this, the conference brochure with no black faces on it?
What a racist comment is that? How dare you? That's an appalling thing to say. You're picking people out for the colour of their skin. You disgust me. Get out of my way.
mean, I'm making the point that you haven't, got... What's appalling about making that point?
You, sir, are a racist.
There aren't any
take
black
this,
people.
And you've checked out the colour of people's faces. Disgraceful. You're disgraceful.
Well, there's a moment there where you come over all Giles Brandreth.
Can you rephrase that?
Yeah.
I've got it in my head now.
So at the end of that round, that is 4 points each.
4 points each, yes. Lovely.
And on to round 2, and in honour of one of our guests' controversial comments about women who don't clean behind the fridge, we'll take a look and see which stories are lurking behind Godfrey Bloom's Fridge of News. Buzz in when you know what the story is. Yes, Victoria and Ian.
It's a rocket going to Mars.
That's right.
And the Indians have launched it, and the Chinese failed, and the Indians are going to succeed. They're going to get a rocket to go all the way to Mars.
Absolutely right. An unmanned mission, this was.
Oh, right.
Of course, yes.
But only to start with, there's going to be people on it eventually.
Shouldn't
Yep.
they have been on it at the beginning?
How much does the UK provide to India in aid annually?
Couple hundred million?
280 million, according
Yeah.
to the Express. How much is India's Mars mission thought to cost?
280 million.
45 million pounds. Yes, they've managed to find a way of getting to Mars for 0.01% of the cost of our proposed route from London to Birmingham.
Brilliant.
Talking of space, can anyone tell me the name of the British asteroid early warning system?
Look up and guess.
Bert.
Mr. and Mrs. J. Tate of Powys is Jay. According to the Mail, Jay and his wife Anne run the UK's International Space Guards Centre for free from their home after the government cut the funding to the National Space Centre for the same task in 2012. Jay says it's not exactly a glamorous job being an unknown protector, but someone has to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
He also puts on a cape and fights crime.
They sound wonderful.
Yeah, lovely.
So fingers on Buzz's teams. Let's see what else is behind Godfrey Bloom's Fridge of News.
Fridge of News.
Yes, Godfrey
Yes,
Bloom.
now this is a statue of the noted cricket umpire Dickie Bird. It's I'm not quite sure. It's in a northern town. Is it Barnsley? But this is the finger there. You know, that's the signal for the batsman is out. But people have been hanging things onto it after sort of weekends out in Barnsley, and so they've got to make the statue higher. They're going to sort of suspend it from a helicopter at a cost of £20,000 a minute, but it will be free from the revellers of Barnsley who've been hanging all kinds of things on that outstretched finger. It's kind of an invitation, really, isn't it? So they're going to put it higher. They're going to put it more of a pedestal.
Completely right.
Yeah.
And because according to the Telegraph, the life-size bronze has been targeted by women partygoers wanting to have their photograph taken with it in compromising positions. Here's that statue again. According to the Daily Mail, what had people been hanging on the finger?
Well, presumably,
Underwear must be.
Yes, revellers have hung condoms
Revellers.
and pants on it.
And Miley Cyrus.
Condoms and pants in Barnsley, that's what we call heirlooms. What's to blame for this?
People having fun.
Alcohol.
Alcohol.
That must be
exactly.
something else.
No, it'd stop that.
The sculptor Graham Ibsen said, everyone who wobbles home after a few sherbets seems to gravitate towards that finger. Who's been spotted cleaning the statue, taking the dangling items off?
Mr. Dickie Bird himself, I should imagine.
Absolutely right, yes. According to the sculptor, Dickie has been seen occasionally on a Saturday morning cleaning himself. This is the news that a statue of cricket umpire Dickie Bird is being put on a taller plinth. Here's the statue. It's the closest Yorkshire gets to a welcome sign. Because what you can't see is 22 yards away, there's a statue of Geoffrey Boycott refusing to walk. Fingers on the buzzers, teams. Let's see what else is behind Godfrey Bloom's Fridge of News.
Paxman.
Yeah.
It is
vote.
Paxman.
No, he said he doesn't vote. He interviewed Russell Brand and gave Russell Brand a hard time for not voting.
Yeah.
Quite strange, though, because in the interview, he kept using the phrase can't be asked. He kept saying, well, you can't be asked to vote. It didn't quite ring true as a thing you'd think Jeremy Paxman would say.
Yeah.
And then a few days later, he sort of came out and said, oh, I gave Russell Brand a hard time, but actually, I don't vote either. And I wonder if he hasn't started thinking that he wants to be Russell Brand.
Yes. There's no other explanation. Definitely.
We're going to see him in necklaces by the end of the week.
Yeah.
He said in an interview, he said there's something irresistible about him. The energy, the loquacity, the camp manner, the apparent frankness. He stands squarely on the tradition of cheeky chappies.
I think he was just indulgent, wasn't he? He just didn't ask him any questions and didn't challenge anything and just smiled at him. And just thought, gosh, you've got a beard as well.
Well, but if you watch the footage, though, Russell Brand is really flirting with him. It's sort of brilliant. He kind of, sort of falls like kind of melts under the charm. Russell Brand is sort of tickling him and teasing him and going, come on, Jeremy. And it is, it's like watching Mr. Paxman falling in love.
Do you know why he said he didn't vote?
He wasn't inspired by any of the choices available to him.
He found the choice of political parties unappetising.
That is incredibly depressing that he said that, really deeply depressing.
Yes.
Not to cast aspersions on my fellow quiz show host, I'm a big fan of Jeremy Paxman, but Russell Brand was putting this forward in a kind of aesthetic of rebellion. You know, he built it into an idea. He said some quite exciting things, so he's preposterous about not voting. But he was, you know, trying to kick ideas around and be shocking. And I think for Jeremy Paxman, who wasn't trying to do that, and is a famously clever man, to just come out and say he didn't like any of the parties and he didn't vote. Disappointing.
Well, he says famously clever. He's got the answers all the time, hasn't he? That makes a huge difference, isn't
Only
it?
on University Challenge.
Oh, does he do something else?
Well, on Newsnight, I'm not sure he's got the answer.
Newsnight's too late for me.
But yes, you're
He
right.
interviews politicians. Have you never seen him?
No. I thought he just did that, you know. Smug thing he does with knowing the answers, and you want to slap him, don't you? Give me a rolled-up magazine.
Godfrey, you quite like voting with your feet, don't you? But we've got quite an impressive demonstration of that here with Kristen Guru-Murthy.
No, I mean, the trouble is if you won't elucidate what was in your mind, because you claim you can't remember, it's a bit difficult.
I can tell you what was in my mind, but you won't let me speak, and it's £1 billion a month going where we don't know where it goes.
No, I'm not interested in the aid stuff. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in why you use the phrase.
I'm saying you should be. Move on.
No.
Move on, there's a good fella.
I'm not going to move on until we've got to the bottom of why you use this phrase.
Oh, well, if you're not going to move on, I don't think there's much point in continuing it, is there? If you're not going to talk about serious issues...
Are you giving
there's
up?
no point in continuing it.
Are you giving up, Mr. Bloom?
I can't be bothered with it.
That was a less flirtatious interview.
Yes, I can tell you, I do not fancy Murphy or whatever his name is. Why has he got an Irish name, anyway? That's what I do.
Murphy.
Right, sorry.
Sorry, look, I don't want to have a row, but why shouldn't he have an Irish name? I mean, why shouldn't he? Why do you ask that
Well,
question?
because he's got a Welsh accent.
Geography is not his strong point.
Who's been doing his best not to bore the electorate in Toronto?
Oh, the mayor. It must be the mayor. The crack cocaine smoker.
Exactly. Do you remember what his name was?
Billy Gibbons.
It'll do. Rob Ford, yeah.
That's it. That's it.
He recently admitted to having smoked crack cocaine on one occasion.
Yeah.
Probably in one of my drunken stupors.
Yeah.
Probably approximately about a year ago. Yes, Rob Ford is very keen to get his hands on the tape of his crack taking.
Yeah.
Does anyone know why?
Well, he's
Forgotten how to do it.
Well, according to the BBC, Ford told a press conference, I want to see the tape. I want everyone in the city to see this tape. I don't even recall there being a tape or video. I want to see the state I was in. Listen, I'm guessing it wasn't great, Rob. Another fat politician has been in the news this week. Who was that?
The man who's just become mayor of New York?
No, a late politician, I suppose.
yes, there's a William Taft, is it?
Exactly right, yes.
A very big man in real life, but being portrayed in the film by somebody more slim. I mean, I glanced at it, but it's something like that.
The former US President, William Howard Taft.
Yes.
There's a picture of him here. Fantastic.
Yeah, there we are.
I do like a high-waisted trouser.
Exactly, yeah. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
Yes, Taft's in the news because Hollywood's thinking of making a King's Speech-style film
yes, yeah.
about his relationship with his British dietitian and his battle with weight loss. How did his girth affect him? Do you know?
Sorry.
Sorry. Oh, what's going on? Anyway, according to the Sunday Times, Taft was so portly he became stuck in the White House bath.
In a plug hole?
The Times also tells us that exhaustion related to sleep apnea caused him often to fall asleep during conversations, which damaged his political reputation. See, what he needed was a pipe of crack. Yes, this is the fallout from Jeremy Paxman's recent interview with Russell Brand. One recent interviewee to walk off the Newsnight set was EU spokesman Amadeu Altafaj Tardio, after Mr. Paxman called him Mr. Idiot. But, to be fair, that is a lot easier to say. Meanwhile, in Canada, the mayor of Toronto has admitted smoking crack cocaine. Asked to explain his behaviour, the mayor said, I was probably in one of my drunken stupors, adding that he hopes to stand again in 2014. Well, sit up, at least. Meanwhile, a new film is to tell the story of a British dietitian and America's 22-stone President William Taft. In 1905, President Taft wrote to his doctor, "I've attempted to exercise every day and have gone riding. I feel in excellent condition." Never mind you, fatso, what about the horse? Which means at the end of this round, it's 5 points to Godfrey and Paul and 6 to Victoria and Ian. Time now for the odd one out round.
Yeah.
One between you this week. Dick Van Dyke's car, an egg in Fenchurch Street, Tutankhamun, and Gwyneth Paltrow's dinner.
Right, Dick Van Dyke recently was in the news about 2 or 3 months ago. He's still around, he's still going, but his car caught fire in America, so that's the reason why he may be there. Something about a car catching fire. Tutankhamun, there was a report looking at the injuries of Tutankhamun that suggested he may have been killed on the battlefield by being hit in the side by a chariot. The egg in Fenchurch Street Station, that must be about heat, so there's, Dick Van Dyke and the egg are both nearly cooked, and Gwyneth Paltrow's dinner's never hot enough, so Tutankhamun's the odd one out.
You got the wrong odd one up. You're on exactly the right trail.
The egg's the odd one out because it didn't cause a car accident. There was no car involved. It nearly did, but it didn't. Somebody was driving along, they saw an egg, was that an egg? Oh, no, they stopped just in time. Dick Van Dyke's in his car going, "Oh, you met me, Poppins, I'm spilled boom." And he's on fire, and Tutankhamun said, "Ah, you didn't get... Oh!" So the egg's the odd one out.
You're right about the fire.
What fire?
You're right about the fire. Dick Van Dyke's car.
Dick Van Dyke's car was on fire?
It was on fire. You were right about that. That was absolutely right, and that's key.
That's key?
Yeah,
right, so it's
the fire,
temperature. It's
fire.
temperature.
Victoria, have you got any ideas?
OK, so it's relevant that there's fire.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this isn't Gwyneth Paltrow, it's the dinner. They've
dinner.
all been exposed to fire except the egg which cooked without it.
I bet
That
that's
is
right.
right.
Is that right? Well done.
That is right. That is right. They've all caught fire unexpectedly, except the egg in Fenchurch Street, which was cooked to perfection by the glare of the sun reflected by the walkie-talkie building opposite.
I don't think an egg cooked on the pavement can be described as cooked to perfection.
But yeah, the same architect, who's Uruguayan, it's called Rafael Vignoli.
Yeah.
He also designed a hotel in Las Vegas.
That's right.
With exactly the same problem.
Exactly the same thing.
Worth remembering the name of that guy. Very much the G4S of architects. King Tutankhamun.
Yes.
Experts said the mummy of King Tutankhamun spontaneously combusted after it was embalmed. Scientists have spent years trying to establish the cause of Tutankhamun's early death, variously attributing it to Marfan syndrome, Wilson-Turner syndrome, adiposogenital dystrophy, Klinefelter syndrome, androgen insensitivity syndrome, aromatase excess syndrome, sagittal craniosynostosis syndrome, Antley-Bixter syndrome, or temporal lobe epilepsy, although the most recent theory is that he was run over by a chariot. A virtual autopsy suggests that his death was due to a trauma that is apparent down the left-hand side of his body, no doubt caused by having to spend his life standing like this. Gwyneth Paltrow has revealed that her husband, Chris Martin, has only twice made dinner for her, and on both occasions they had to call the fire brigade. Still, they and their children were unscathed. It would be awful if they'd ended up with baked apple. Which means at the end of this round, it's 5 points to Godfrey and Paul and 8 to Victoria and Ian. Time now for the Missing Words round, which this week features as its guest publication Reg Transfers, the magazine for the world of personal number plates. And we start with Simon Cowell reveals what?
Reveals his number plate.
You probably can't see Simon Cowell's number plate for all the cigarette smoke billowing around his pregnant girlfriend. Did you see? There were pictures. Did you not see that?
Were people smoking?
There's a picture of him in a car, fagging away, pregnant girlfriend in the passenger seat.
Unbelievable. I thought he was evil before. But...
Simon Cowell reveals his baby name choice is Simon. Oh. The baby's due in February. Simon Cowell's already got a high chair, some tiny clothes and a booster seat. All he needs now is to get some stuff for the baby. Next, Cornelius Gurlitt has been hiding what?
Is it complete as it is? Just been hiding.
That's the Nazi art.
Masterpieces, yeah.
I will give you that. Cornelius Gurlitt has been hiding secret Nazi art stash.
Yeah.
All the paintings were confiscated in the early 1940s, or as art historians call it, Hitler's angry period. Next, in Essex, we all have what?
Automatic weapons. An intrinsic knowledge of our local area. Personalised number plates.
Personalised plates.
Yeah.
There we are, yes. In Essex, we all have personal plates. I wanted my initials on my car, but I didn't fancy splashing out in a personalised number plate, so I just bought a second-hand AA van. Brilliant. Next, police dogs will receive what?
I know this.
Go on, then.
Pensions. They're going to get pensions.
Pensions.
Absolutely right.
And rightly so.
Yeah.
Rightly so.
Yeah.
I can't believe nobody said truncheon meat.
Now, they did. That response is the reason why nobody did.
Next, George W. Bush planning what?
A gallery, an exhibition.
Yeah,
He's going to open an exhibition.
Yeah, but that's almost there, yes. He's planning to paint a series of... He's planning to paint a... Oh, Lord.
George W. Bush
Bush
is planning to paint a portrait series
of
well,
world leaders.
God, we used to accuse him of not being able to read.
Yeah. According to the Telegraph, he is also known to dabble in landscapes, as the people of Iraq know only too well. And finally, David Suchet admits to what when playing Poirot?
Oh, I know that one.
Yeah. What was it?
Yes, he's got a penny up his arse, hasn't he? So it helps him mince the walk.
Oh, absolutely right, yep. David Suchet admits to clenching a penny between his buttocks when playing Poirot.
Which he learnt from Laurence Olivier,
Yeah,
who I think had more than pennies up his arse at once.
Right down to the line, Godfrey.
Sorry. I know you won't ask me back.
So the final scores are Godfrey and Paul have 8, but Victoria and Ian are our winners this week with 12. On which note we say thank you to our panellists in Hislop and Victoria Corin Mitchell, Paul Merton and Godfrey Bloom, and I leave you with news that, to counter allegations that high interest rates leave borrowers dissatisfied, Wonga.com arrange a photo shoot with one of their happy customers. Viewers of Doctor Who complain that the chase scenes aren't as exciting as they used to be. And on a trip to the local fun fair, there's a worrying sight for Bruce Forsyth. Good night.
More from Victoria Corin Mitchell on BBC iPlayer. Lateral thinking in the game that can really run rings around you. Only Connect. Next here, get ready for Citizen Khan, the film star.